are you done with? Because if you are done, the only thing that can shift is to go up and to do something different.
Welcome to Thrive by Design, the podcast for ambitious, independent jewelry brands looking to profit from their products. Get ready to make more and sell more doing what you love without spending every single waking minute doing it. Hey, and if you're a creative, fashion, or product-based business, I want to welcome you to the show. I'll be dropping big tips on launching, growing, and scaling your business so you can spend more of your precious time using your creativity to make money. You ready? All right, let's do this.
Welcome to this bonus episode of the Thrive by Design podcast. Hey there, it's Tracy Matthews, Chief Visionary Officer of Flourish and Thrive Academy, and I am excited to be here today. I'm always excited to be here. I love podcasting. But the bigger thing is this. I am excited to talk about this topic today because I'm throwing in this bonus episode. I'm recording it just a couple days before we post it live. And I think this topic is really important. So many of you know, and you probably participated, some of you, probably not everyone listening to this podcast, but many of you may have. And this all spurs from a conversation that I was having with Jason, my partner. No worries, we are good. Nothing about us being done, but just about releasing patterns and stupid behaviors that we learned and adopted from whatever, wherever we pick these things up, from childhood, from patterning, from, society, from programming, all the things, right? And how you get to a point where you kind of hit this I'm done or rock bottom or like, this has to change now because the pain is too great. This has to change now because the pain is too great. So we were having this conversation and I'm like, oh my gosh, this conversation is like just what my people need right now. Primarily for this reason. A lot of people say that they want transformation, but until the pain gets too great or until they can't stand what they are settling for becomes too great, that they're willing to make a change. I see people come to our free stuff all the time. They've come every single year. They've never done anything to actually change their situation. So year after year after year, I see people who say that they want to change, but they haven't done anything to change. Because what I care about as a coach is to see transformation in people. So if someone says that they want a transformation, they want something different, they want a different end result, and they haven't shown up for themselves or their business or admitted to themselves what they're tolerating or what they're just repeating in their life, and they keep coming back trying to do the same thing over and over again but expect a different result, well, we all know that that is the definition of insanity. And so what happens when you get to that point of being done, the rock bottom place, or feeling like enough is enough? So I asked members of our Supercharge Your Online Sales Challenge group, the people who are participating in this challenge, I asked them, what are you done with? And I'm going to read some of those responses. And obviously these names all remain private. I'm not sharing any names here. I just want to share some of the things that came up. Let me see. I'm done hiding my true self. I'm done holding on to what does not serve me, material and mental. Done allowing my husband to control my decisions, or to reword, done using my husband as an excuse as to why I'm not doing what I really want. Wow. I'm done with people pleasing and making myself smaller for others. I'm done not holding my boundaries. I'm done feeling less than, not where I want to be financially. I'm done emotionally beating myself up. Wow. I'm done being so afraid and not playing full out or playing safe. That chapter is now closed, and ahead lies a more exciting chapter where I'm pursuing what I really want, and nothing will stop me. No matter how long it takes or the challenges that I have to overcome, I know I will succeed. I am done with anxiety. I'm done with not having time. I am done with wasting my time making customs with no deposits for customers who won't pay. When it's all said and done, I'm done with not having sales. I am done doing what people always expect me to do, and I'm going to start doing what I want to do for myself. I am done being shy and not asking for the sale and sending emails. I sent out an email about why I started my jewelry business yesterday, and it stemmed from a Facebook follower asking me to make a pendant in a medium I've never done before. And that's how I literally started my business. I'm done with doubting my abilities, with the fear that no one will buy my jewelry. I am done with not being able to contribute to my family's income. I'm done with treating my business as a hobby. I'm done with not seeing myself as a business owner. I'm done waiting for customers to come on my site in their own. I'm done being scared. I have no real vision for where I want to go, but I'm done letting that stop me from moving forward. It will fall into place. Wow. This one is really interesting. This is from someone's employee. The last person I worked for abused me in so many ways and sucker punched me in so many times after she fired me. Mind you, she fired me because I started standing up for myself and stopped taking the abuse. I am so done working for people who don't value me and my skills, and that's okay to abuse me. F that shit. I'm my own boss, and I know I'm worth it and a lot much more than that. I think I stated that incorrectly in the beginning. It's not from an employee. She was an employee of someone else making jewelry, I guess. Anyway, there are so many more here, and it doesn't matter what stage in business you're at, because I just had a cleansing I'm done exercise too. And I shared this on the class that I taught last week. I shared this picture of me in Nicaragua. I was on a trip with my friends, two of my really close girlfriends. And at that time in my life, I was in this huge transition, meaning like my first jewelry business, I had just closed it and wound it down. This was right after 2008 when the recession took out my business. Some of you have heard that story, but I eventually had to file for bankruptcy because none of the stores that bought my jewelry were actually paying me. And for a small business to be out cash in hand, $400,000, it was kind of, impossible to overcome that at that point in my life. And so I basically was starting over from scratch at the age of 40, which was awful. Started teaching yoga, which I love doing. I was doing that as a hobby anyway, but I started teaching yoga more regularly. I was launching in the early stages of launching my custom jewelry business where I design engagement rings and wedding bands for people. And, it's basically starting over because my customer base wasn't necessarily translatable from my other business. And I was freelancing for a $400 million jewelry company. And then I really set this intention. I did a couple of things, which I'm going to share with you. But on this trip, I got really clear about some of the things that I was done from. And when I went on that trip, my two friends were just doing much better at this point in life than I was. And it was really challenging for me to be on that trip with them because I couldn't really afford to do all the things that they wanted to do. I made it work, but I didn't feel abundant in that space. I got stung by a stingray while I was there. And also, I ended up hearing from this guy that I had been dating at the time. We'd been dating on and off for about 3 years. And he ghosted me for like over a month. Like he went on a trip and then I didn't hear from him for over a month. And I'm just like, is he dead? It's like one of those things like, is he dead? Like we were full on dating like before he left. Turns out like something happened. He got thrown in jail. He's not a bad person, like a criminal or anything like that, but he just got thrown in jail for something that happened for not having the right licensing. And for something, I'm not going to go into the weeds about that. Long story short, he was dealing with some stuff, but never even thought to be like, hey, look, I'm dealing with some stuff and I need some time. Like that would have been fine. He just ghosted me. And so he resurfaced and I was livid. And at that moment, I was like, I am done with this guy. I'm done with dating people who don't care about me, who are just like playing around with my heart and all that stuff. And I was done being broke and I was done being afraid to put myself out there. And it was a huge shift because I don't know if you've ever lost something really big, like your entire company and your confidence is gone. You spent all these years building something that was great and was doing really well. And then overnight it's kind of taken out and you're just like, you lose your confidence. And it took a minute to get that confidence back. And it wasn't until I hit that rock bottom and I was done that anything started to shift. And so right around that time, I'd met a woman named Erica Learmark. She's a former stripper who got me on a call. One of her company was called the Daily Whip at that time. And I can't remember what her whip sessions were, but it was like a quick whip, 15-minute whip session. And she'd just get on the phone with you and talk to you a little bit about what you wanted to create. So she was asking me like, what is it that you want? And I said, well, let me back up for a second before I tell you what I said. I was really struggling because I was getting a lot of clients who could not afford what I was doing. And so like they'd come to me, for those of you who design fine jewelry, they'd come to me and like want a like 1 carat diamond for like $1,000. I'm like, no. And this was way before like lab grown stuff was happening. This is like 12, 15 years ago, something like that. So there was no opportunity for that. And it was just, I kept attracting these people that like, I would tell them the terms and they'd agree to the terms. And then when it came for final payment, they were like, they would ghost me and take weeks to pay and then get mad when I was following up. And I'm like, look, like I'm out the money for making this piece. Of course I took a deposit and everything, but I still need to pay my bills and it's just not fair. And this whole thing happened with this one customer where she was like ripping me a new one for basically asking for payment, saying that I was being rude. And I'm like, actually, no, like these are our terms. I was just tired of it. I couldn't stand it anymore. So she asked me what I wanted. And I said, I was having a hard time articulating it because I could only say what I didn't want, which was to work with people who were haggling me on price because like, that's not who I wanted to work with. And so she's like, well, what do you want? And I said, and it just came out. I said, I want to sell jewelry to rich people. I sell jewelry to rich people. And she's like, all right, there we go. We have something to work with. And then we started getting into like, how much do you want to make? Like, what does that look like? And at that time, like my marker of success was like, if I could bring home 15 grand a month of take home pay, meaning like that's the profit that I would pay myself with, then I'm in a good spot. And I feel like really solid living in New York, doing what I do. And then I could let go of some of these other things like teaching yoga and doing all these private lessons and also the freelancing gig that I was working on. So that was my goal. So we figured out and reverse engineered what it would take to actually get me to a place where I could invest in some of the things and some of the mentors and stuff that I wanted to do in order to reach that goal. And so within a very short time, I figured it out. And because I had a number to work with, and I figured out it was like 5 to 7 projects a month, because I had that number to work with, it was really easy to get that. But the problem is before I was just trying to get any customers just to make money instead of being really strategic. Okay, if I know exactly what I'm working with, then I can reverse engineer and call that in, right? And then the other conversation that I had is I was on a masterclass like the type that we do over here, but this was about money manifestation. And it was like the early days of generating like the money manifestation stuff. And I was on a webinar with Denise Duffield-Thomas, and Denise is an Australian, and she would talk about all the different ways that you could basically call in money. And so she did this exercise, like, how much do you need right now? And so we'd write it down, and then she's like, okay, what can you do to generate that cash? And I think most of us only look through the lens of our business of the ways that we could generate cash. And I listed out all these different ways, like I could do private lesson packages. I could do this. I could do that. I remember that there were a bunch of people that still hadn't paid me for some projects that were in the works or things that I was lagging on because I was worried about actually asking for the money. And just like that, I came up with a plan to make $15,000 really quickly. What happened over the course of a very short period of time was that I think it was maybe like 6 months from when all of this happened, I had my first month where I took home $30,000. I went from barely making $5,000 a month to making over $30,000 a month just that I got to take home. And so I mentioned this because sometimes when we're stuck in our shit and we're in that spot of being done, but we're not pivoting or taking the action or transforming or taking that transformation to do what we need to do when we're completely done, then until that happens, nothing's going to change. And so I wanted to ask you today, what are you done with? If you want to stop this podcast right now or come back, write yourself a note. If you're driving, please be safe. But what are you done with? What will you no longer allow as part of your business acumen or your personal acumen? Because if you are done, the only thing that can shift is to go up and to do something different. Cool? Cool. So I wanted to mention this today because this was a conversation that we were having with the Supercharge Your Online Sales Challenge participants. And I just wanted to remind everyone who is listening to this podcast today that we are closing enrollment on our final round of the Train Your Customers to Buy From You Online program. That program is designed for deep transformation when it comes to sales. It is simple, it is easy to execute, And it is perfect for people who have been selling products either at in-person shows, on third-party platforms, wholesale, or a variety of different ways where you haven't quite figured out how to get your customers to buy from your website. It is great for people who have a great social media following and also are selling on social media platforms. And we talk about this a lot, but the number one problem that I see with most y'alls who have a great Instagram following, who are making a ton of sales on Instagram, is that at any given time, someone tries to hack your account. You get logged out for some reason. You can't get your recovery password. Instagram basically just shuts you down for whatever reason. This has happened so many times. Like, I'm thinking of like all these artists right now who I know just rely only on Instagram. And I've seen your website, guys. They suck. And you're not email marketing, and you're not getting into this regular habit of doing the marketing that is owned marketing, and you're relying only on Instagram. I am telling all of you, this is a warning sign. You are putting your business in jeopardy if you do not do something different. Client of ours, she's in our Momentum program and also has taken TYC, got locked out of her 50,000 person Instagram account that she had been building for years because Instagram reset her password, or she couldn't remember the old password. She got logged out, could not remember it, and she had an old email address attached to it. And she had shut that email address down, and now she can't get the recovery code. Gone. And she used to do really well on Instagram. So now she's starting over, 2,000 people on her Instagram. And Instagram will only let you direct message 30 people a day without flagging you or shutting you down. So do you know how long it takes to DM 50,000 people on your old platform to try and get them to follow you over at the new Instagram handle? You are putting your business in jeopardy if you're building your business on rented land. Instagram is rented land. Etsy is rented land. Amazon is rented land. And I'm not saying that they aren't great ways to sell your product, but what I am saying is that that's your primary way. You could lose your business overnight. That's all. And the same thing with the in-person shows. You know, you're relying on foot traffic. You basically see someone once, they buy from you once, and then you never have contact with them again unless you have a solid follow-up strategy, which I know a lot of people don't. I talk to people every single day who do shows every single weekend. They have not collected one email address, nor have they marketed to them. And if they have, a lot of y'all's just are like hoarding email addresses without doing anything with it. Like, what's the point? We can show you how to literally use those sales channels to grow your online sales. So that's all. That's my high horse for any of you who are done, like wasting every weekend and having the boob sweat and all the things that come along with doing shows, missing out on family events, being at pop-ups every night because that's how you're making a business. Or I know some of you have had young children recently and then you can't do those events. And so now you're really struggling to grow your business. And we just want to help you do something different and make a change. So this is our last call for this. We're actually getting started next week. So if you're interested in learning more about the TYC, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/TYC and get your application in today. We'll be wrapping up next week and we're getting started. This is an amazing cohort. We had such great vibes with everyone in this group. All right, you guys, ciao for now.